Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Just doing my weekly Star OS Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 32. Thanks for listening. Everything that I'll be going over today relates back to my weekly news recap number 81 that is on the intergalacticherald.com. So if you go to intergalacticherald.com, you can read that. Please sign up for the weekly news there if I get delivered directly to your email account. So just a couple things that I'm working on. Again, always interested in having any guests on this podcast. So if you're interested, please go to intergalacticherald.com and go to the contact page. I do hope to start reaching out to some of the Star OS content creators and builders to do some kind of guest interviews, but always interested in anybody who wants to come on and just chat about the week in review of Star Atlas, kind of in a roundtable fashion. I already mentioned my weekly news recap on intergalacticherald.com. Please sign up for that. And I do have two projects that I am sort of working on. I admit I've been busy, one being sick, two with my actual business, three something else. I don't know, just way too many things going on. So, but my two projects are one, a merch store that I'm trying to launch for Star Atlas. They call it Intergalactic Gear. So intergalacticgear.com. You can go there and please fill out my merch survey. I'm looking to get some feedback on what people would be interested in. Definitely want to make this a community-driven merch store to provide some products you guys actually want to purchase. And then the other project I'm working on is called the Intergalactic Coalition, intergalacticcoalition.com. That is a non-guild guild. Again, nothing wrong with guilds. They're a great organizing community group that exists within Star Atlas. But if you're just a solo gamer in Star Atlas, don't really want to get involved in all the hierarchy and different things that's in a traditional guild. So this coalition is more of just a place for people to hang out. Because, again, people may have different amounts of time available. The community platform I want to use will allow for threaded discussions, so you can easily kind of jump back in so you don't have to just kind of get lost in Discord chat. And also, when you find conversations you like, you can follow them, and then you'll get an email alert when there's updates. That is a paid platform, so this will be a paid community. But again, kind of offset the costs of the platform, plus, again, support me to help be the leader of that platform and things like that. So again, intergalacticcoalition.com. So moving into the content from the last week, obviously we're still in Sage Labs time. I think actually lots of people are really focused on that. I noticed some of the content creators have not been posting as much. So I think everybody's just in there trying to figure out different things. So there was just a couple comments that I either found through Star Atlas Discord, the Foundation Room, or other content creators brought up. So I just wanted to kind of touch on a few of those, and then we'll go into my new segment, which is more of my thoughts on strategy in Sage Labs. But the first thing was brought up, I think, again, it showed up in the Foundation Room, the Star Atlas Discord Foundation Room, that Sage Labs will be abandoned. There was talk about you'll have to move all your resources eventually out of Sage Labs before the next version of Sage, which is, and again, I'm not 100% sure if it's the Star Bases. I think that's the next one, or it's the combat. Again, it's really always hard to kind of predict the next thing given the past thing. And again, I'm not trying to be critical of the team. Plans change, you lose 70% of your staff or employees. Yeah, I mean, something's coming down the road map. Who knows what it is. But again, it sounded like there's the possibility that we're going to basically abandon Sage Labs. And just a little commentary on that. I have to admit, again, I'm fine, as was brought up in the last week's show about, there were bugs in Sage Labs and things like that. I know this is being developed, so I'm not at all, but I don't know. I guess I thought we're over the hurdle that what we're building or what we're using, what we're interacting with is going to just continue to be built on, not again thrown away and started over again. But what limited I was able to kind of piece together from different sources is the Starbase version of Sage. Basically, the Starbases we have now in Sage Labs have to be removed because they were never permanent, in the sense that I guess they're already tier 5 and they're owned by not the factions. Anyways, I'm sorry. I mean, the Sage Lab manual came out 9 months ago, and I can't follow all of this stuff. And so maybe all of this makes sense once it's explained thoroughly. But when you get just a little comment somewhere by one of the team members in Discord, anyways. So don't be surprised if we have to take all our resources out and kind of start over again. Again, it's not that you lose your resources, but I don't know. I was just thinking when everybody kept talking about how, hey, everything's on the blockchain, you can just interact, whether it's the web version or the mobile version or the UE5 version, and everything's on the blockchain. Well, then why do we have to keep moving things? Again, I'm not being too critical. It's more of just like I thought we were finally on the blockchain permanently. Anyways. The other one that came out was, and again, I admit I'm not following the pricing in the marketplace, and I'll get into this a little more when I get into my strategy that I'm doing. But somebody noted on one of their YouTube videos that the prices have been falling greatly. I personally noticed the golden tickets were dropping as I bought a few because I realized to craft them I'd have to get all these things, and I don't know. I want to put a little bit into the raffle, but I'm not going to go crazy. So once the prices kept dropping on the golden tickets, I bought my number that I want to put in each drawing, and that I'm kind of done. I've, I guess, pre-bought my lotto tickets, if you want to use that analogy, so I'm good. But the point about the prices dropping was it made small fleets totally impractical for anything other than the SDU scanning. And again, I'm not following the individual pricing, so I'm kind of taking this content creator at face value, but I went in and checked, and I saw like I've been mining hydrogen, and it's like, I can't remember, it's like 0.0001 cent. I'm just USD prices. I can't do the calculations for Atlas. But I figured out I had mined almost 600,000 hydrogen, and its value on the marketplace was $6. And I have to admit that was very deflating, that all that time to get all that. But again, I'm not really... Well, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll talk about more of that in the strategy. So anyways, that was an interesting one that somebody brought. It was on the same vein. There was also something that I wrote down as a talking point, was this big versus small fleets, and how, big fleets have the advantage just because they're bigger, and so they have more access to resources, bigger cargo hold, earn more Atlas and score, things like our faction fleet. And it was mentioned again, well, that's capitalism. And that's so true. The real world, the real economy is not fair. If you're a solopreneur and you're, selling widgets, and there's a big company, again, we could use the classic US example of Amazon. I mean, if you're a small bookstore and Amazon came there and it sold every book under the sun, people would just buy from Amazon, and before long, the small local bookstore went out of business. It's happened before. We use the Walmart example. You were a small hardware store in a small town, and Walmart comes nearby, and everybody goes to Walmart because it's got everything they want, plus it's cheaper. So I get capitalism. I have no problems with that. But this isn't real world economy. This is a, quote, game. And as I've been mentioning many times on this podcast, I continually have this concept, is it fun? So, I still think it needs to be fun for all player levels. So if you have a big fleet or a small fleet, you need to have fun. Now, you could say the game's not done yet, so we have to be patient and see what the final product is. So say something in Sage Labs is more attuned to large fleets, again, going back to the idea that a small fleet can only do SDU scanning, can't really do any sort of mining. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. And I admit, I tried the SDU scanning a few times, and I'm like, okay. And again, I went back to, it's just escape velocity all over. But so I just abandoned SDU scanning because this wasn't fun. But I also went back to something I mentioned last week, where the economics team was mentioning how the idea of trying to do everything in the game and not be a specialist isn't really how the economy's set up. And again, if you parallel in the real world, that's not how it works. Let's pick on McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't raise their own cows, slaughter them, process them, cook them, and give you a burger. They have other people they buy all the products from, bread, hamburger, ketchup, whatever. So I'm coming more and more around that, hey, cool, I don't like SDU scanning. I'm not even going to get into the moral or ethical that people are grinding. Again, It's a game still. We'll wait there. And I still think there'll be automation. I know there's a lot of people that say bots are bad, but the whole world's about automation. I mean, I use automation all the time in my business. I can't imagine that ultimately that will be not allowed in the Star Atlas ecosystem, because that's not a real economy. So anyways, but one thing, final point on the big versus small fleets, because they were talking again about when we get to combat, then people are going to be like, the people that are mining, they're going to get attacked all the time by the pirates or whoever. Okay, that does sound really lame if I'm a miner. I guess it's fun if you're a pirate. But I've said this before, and I constantly have to give credit for the overall design of the Star Atlas ecosystem. There are different zones. There's safe zones, there's medium risk zones, and the high risk zones. So if you don't want to be attacked, you never leave the safe zone. Now, does that mean they're going to be mining in the safe zones? I sure hope so. I think that's one way to make sure it's fun. And if you want to risk more for better rewards, you go to the medium risk zone and obviously the high risk zone. I think that is a perfectly fair gameplay. Will big ships still have benefits over small ships? Yeah, I think by default that just has to be. However, as a quick aside, I just caught up on all my videos, all the other content creators, and I want to give credit to Beyond the Horizon. He actually came up with a really cool idea that why don't the small or extra small ships kind of have like a and you almost have to go watch this video, which again, if you go and subscribe to my newsletter, it's on the list, that, the very small ships, the racers, may get some sort of perk that they can warp further than a big ship. And he used the analogy of his gigantic, or not gigantic, but his large commercial truck that he does for his business. You can go back and forth between a job and it eats up the whole fuel tank. But hey, a smaller motorcycle, much more fuel efficient. And again, I think that's a thing that I didn't think of when I was watching the video, but it just came to me. It's fuel efficiency. So the big truck gets 10 miles to the gallon. The motorcycle gets 40. They're using the same fuel. But in Sage Labs, I don't think it matters. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe overall consumption, but I don't think there's a fuel efficiency thing yet. It's more of how much fuel it takes to fly, because distance is the same. Anyways, I think there's definitely lots of opportunities to make sure that small fleets and small ships have this, again, what I'm keep calling the fun factor. So anyways, moving on. Way too much rambling there, sorry. So that's all kind of the things. Again, I think there was lots of heads down. People were playing, the team was fixing bugs, but I think we're definitely have hit a milestone with Sage Labs release, and people are experiencing. I'm sure the release of the raffle period time will be another little thing, and then hopefully we'll start talking about what's next. And of course, find out how long Sage Labs is going to be around, if it truly could be abandoned. So moving on to the other section, which again is more about me talking about my strategy. And again, my strategy. You could have a totally different strategy. You don't have to agree with any of this. You don't have to play like this. Again, we're all going to have our own different gameplay styles, but this is mine and this is my podcast, so I get to say what I want to say. So my first thought I was thinking of over the last week is, again, what is my goal? Because I finally got into Sage Labs, started it up, and kind of was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And again, this isn't a criticism of the game. It was designed as an internal tool that they released. They polished the UI. It's not a game. There's no tutorial. Anyway. So I realized, okay, I have to come up with what's my goal. And I started thinking about other games I like to play, and I kind of got stuck there, because it's like, well, if you play a first-person shooter, you just go in there and shoot people. You don't have a goal, I guess. Don't die, kill more people. There's really nothing. But again, that's not what we're definitely. Sage Labs is not a first-person shooter. So again, I go back to the one that does seem to be the most. Well, I guess the other one it's not, is there's no player progression, so you can't call this an MMO where you're leveling up your character by grinding. But so all I can go back to is the economy portion of a real-time strategy game, where you're accumulating resources in order to do something. Now, the do something part seems to be missing. Again, not a criticism, just here's what it is. So when you're in a real-time strategy game, you're getting all your resources so you can train your soldiers, so you can go out and do combat. Combat, next phase. So I kept looking around, and I was like, I guess I don't really have a goal. So the goal I picked was craft a couple of the ships that were available. So let's just pause there, and I'll get to that in a second. Because part of the goal, and what I was thinking about again, is this part of it, which is money and time. So Sage Labs is predominantly, in my opinion, a game of time. Meaning, how much time do you want to spend doing it? So there's the time wait. So like in the case of what I'm doing right now, it takes, I think, 12 minutes to mine a certain resource to fill up my cargo. Okay, so gotta be patient for 12, because you can't buy your way ahead. You can't get a mining boost or something. And then there's the travel time between, well, where you are and where you want to go. And again, everything, in my opinion, is related to how you interact with your central space station, your CSS, because that's the only way you can get the resources out. And again, if we have to abandon this game, leaving resources at a further out star base is just, you're going to have to move it. So why even leave it there? Again, kind of stinks, but whatever. So, but again, so that's the time. But then there's also the money. And, for most of the people who are currently in Star Atlas have already been in it for a while. So let's just assume you all have ships. But somebody new might come in and they need a ship. So there's obviously money, and there's not a barrier to entry, but there's a price to pay for entrance. There's an entrance fee. You got to buy ships, a ship or ships. It gets back to that big fleet, small fleet. But anyways, I got really using more and more. If I had the money, I'd just buy the ship I want or buy the resource or whatever, because that's what the marketplace is. Which again, kind of was like, well, if I could just buy everything, what's the point? I don't need to play the game. I could just do it. And again, maybe that's part of being that there's so many different aspects. You can just be a marketplace arbitrage person who is constantly looking for the best deal in the marketplace. Okay, cool. I mean, if that's what you want to do, it exists. So awesome. I'm not a day trader in stocks. I don't know why I'd be a day trader in Star Atlas Marketplace. Again, my personal play style. But I also got realizing the one thing that every Star Atlas player has in common is time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and every process is a fixed time. Only difference being, I think it's some ships mine faster than other ships, or some ships travel faster than the other. Okay, but it's still time. Again, it's still time. So personally, I realized I don't have the time. Other people might. And again, not trying to say one way or another, but I spend how much time on my business, which of course makes money, actual money, that pays my bills, my mortgage, kids in high school, college, all that stuff. So, I mean, I can't play around in a game instead of work on my business. Then, of course, you have to be with your family. Apparently, they want your time. And then I have side businesses, and now, of course, I have Star Atlas. So time is equalizer, but it's also not everybody has the same part. Now, somebody else, again, not trying to stereotype, but, again, I'll pick on my kid there because that's not stereotyping. Okay, he's a freshman in college. He has more time than me. His bills are paid for. Well, one way or another, his bills. Okay, whatever. I'm not going into finances. But he has more time, so he can play more if he wanted to. Awesome, that's great. And other people could have more time. So I think that's all good. But I guess it goes back to how you're going to maximize your time in Sage Labs. And I guess I've come to the point that I'll do some, but I'll sacrifice being patient, i.e., maybe taking longer to click the buttons because I'm busy. But maybe I'll do a little more and multitask. Fine. But the other thing I did realize is, for what we're doing, that concept that we've heard of in MMOs and stuff, grinding, I get it. It's a way to level up. In this case, we can go grinding. I'm just trying to get all these resources. But, that's not fun. And that's why I'm not doing the SDU scanning, because I'm just not interested. So I mentioned at the beginning I was going to say what I'm going to do, and now it's what I'm going to do. So what I decided to finally do is I looked at all the items on the crafting tree or whatever and what was interesting. And cool, big ship would be great. But when you started seeing the number of items, I'm like, I just know I don't have time for this. And it's okay if I don't get the awesome big ship. Even though it's possible, it's cool, it's there. And again, long term, who knows? But short term, Sage Labs, I don't want to spend the time in the short term to get that thing. So I decided to pick just a couple things. One was, I forget which the manufacturer, but it's the Max Hog. It's a little car. And it seemed pretty reasonable, though when I did the calculation, it seemed very cheap if I just bought all the parts, all the resources, and crafted them. But again, you could buy all the other ones. Anyway, so again, why don't I just buy everything? So I think in this case, I'm being irrational, that I want to just mine all the resources, craft them all, and get the object as a kind of victory for my time. So I'm changing my time, not my money, but my time, to then get this goal, which is the specific small or extra small, whatever size ship it is. It's not big. It's not even a ship. It's a car vehicle. And that's my goal. Then the second one I decided was they actually had some of the land in there, tier 0 ones, which I forget how much were originally on the marketplace, but I didn't buy them when they were released. So I thought, yeah, those two things, couple months, sure, why not? As a quick aside, I'm actually now confused whether or not there is unlimited supply of these things, because some of the ships have been said don't have unlimited supply, but I've decided, I guess I could just ask the question in the Foundation room, but I've decided if I truly can't get that thing, I'll just hoard the resources. So, if by the time I get around to it, they're not available, I won't be disappointed, because again, long term, they're always available. So that's my thing. On the other goal, golden tickets, yeah, I after looking at what it takes to craft those, meaning I'm pretty sure it was like almost all the resources, that's just not interesting to me. The price is so cheap, and the outcome is dubious. Not in a negative way, sorry, I should say. I'm fine buying a few, which I did. I'll put them in the raffle. If I win, that'd be awesome. If I don't, it's just fun participation entrance. But the idea of spending time to craft them, that's time I could be doing my other goal, which is those ship and land there. And then I think I mentioned, but I'll just reiterate, the SDU scanning is completely not interesting to me. It's very tedious. The price of SDUs are so cheap presently. I'll just buy whatever I need for SDUs. So anyways, again, that's my goal. What I've decided, so on the two things, the Max Hog and the CSS Tier 0, I calculated all the R9s. Well, it's not all the R9s, but whatever raw materials are needed for each of those. I added all, I created a spreadsheet, figured out all the raw materials, and then the, whatever we're calling it, the refined components that, got to the point where then you have what you need to craft the actual final thing. I just put the two of those things together, tallied them up, found the places within where they're located as close to the Central Space Station as possible, and I started mining. Obviously, hydrogen was my first one, but it's also at the Central Space Station, so I spent the last week just going back and forth, moving that in, and that's where I stopped on Friday at 600,000. I think I only needed 500,000. So anyways, done. So moving on to the next one. These are going to involve actual movement out. So I'm going to figure out this weekend what process to do that. And basically what I'm doing, I'm just determining one step. I'm not even determining the most efficient step. I'm just determining, how do I get this thing? Great. I figured it out. How much food to put in my cargo. Obviously max out the fuel and the ammo, and then go and do that thing, come back, and then determine how many times I need to repeat that. Not looking at any arbitrage, I'm not being efficient at all. I just want this one thing. Is that a wrong approach? If you're an efficiency game, yeah, it's crazy. You should be figuring out there, and technically it could be cheaper to buy. Again, I'm not worried about that. Oh, I should note, I do have claim stakes. So they're producing all the R4 I need. So I don't care about how much fuel it costs or how much ammo or food. I got millions of each of those, I think, coming, and keeps adding up there. And I just took out all my small ships. So I had a whole bunch of extra small and smalls that I collected over the last year at different times, put them all into one fleet, not trying to do multiple fleets. And my goal is just simply take the fleet to the one resource and come back. That's it. I don't care how long it takes. I'm not trying to do 3 or 4 fleets. I'm not trying to move things around. I don't even have time. It's hard enough trying to remember the steps to do one fleet. I don't disagree that the strategy of multiple fleets that are mining and crafting are a good idea. I don't want to spend that time. I've been actually catching myself the last week. Just the distraction of doing that one task gets me away from something else. And so I can only do it at certain points the first thing in the morning or right before dinner. So this fits my style. And once I get these 2 goals, I'm done, because that's not worth the time or the I guess we'll call it the joy factor. It's not joyful doing this. Maybe if it was more complicated, maybe if I made all those fleets and I felt like I was doing a strategy and I was maintaining all my economies like I do in a real-time strategy, maybe that would be more fun. But yeah, it's just not. Maybe because, again, I think, sorry, keep going on tangents, but maybe it's not fun because there's no ultimate goal. Great, I got another ship. Great, I got 30 small ones. Who cares? Just note 20 of those are the air bikes. So I heard somebody say buy lots of air bikes. So I did that a long time ago. Anyways, so that's what I'm doing. Moving through my supply list, if you want to call it that. Got the hydrogen done, going to move to carbon, and then I got 3 or 4 other ones to do. So I'll give you an update next week when I'm there. So last thing, and again, I've kind of been saying this all along, but kind of was one of those, I love the word epiphany, that I had this last week. Is it a game? And I probably will keep asking this question from time to time. Is what we have now in Star Atlas, i.e. Sage Labs, Faction Fleet, Faction Claims, Marketplace, is it a game? I'm actually going to say no. And here's why. Here is my epiphany. Is there skill involved? Skill. So when I played first-person shooters and I stink at it, it's because I'm not very good at it. If I played more, I'd be better at it. Well, what's playing more get you? Well, practice. Let's practice developing your skills. Again, Michael Jordan took 10,000 hours shooting free throws or whatever, and so he could shoot free throws. Wayne Gretzky. Any sports analogy you want to give, they all practice a lot. And there's practice in music. There's practice in so many different things. Why do you practice? To improve your skills. There is absolutely no skill involved in Sage Labs, Faction Fleet, Claim Stakes, Marketplace. Yes. Is there skill involved in how to manipulate the market and get a arbitrage situation? Sure, I'll give you that. But okay, I'm not going to go there because I like it, how, day traders. Why does price go up and down? It seems random, but I'm sure it's not. I'm not an economist, but anyways. But I thought of the gambling example. So you go to Vegas and you want to play a gambling game. Okay, you go play a slot machine. Put your coin in, pull the handle. Things twirl. You get blackjack, you get 3 sevens and a bunch of coins pop out. Most times you don't. You get a few coins. You put the coin back in. At some point, somebody comes around and gives you a free drink. Awesome. Yeah, again, there's a whole psychology of like getting people drunk in casinos. Yeah, anyways. But the point is, there is no skill involved in a slot machine. Let's just pick one other game. Blackjack. Is there skill involved in blackjack? Yes. Now, are all gambling games benefit the house? Yes. Have I been told blackjack or poker are the ones that most of us go out? Yeah, okay, my analogy starts breaking down. But I'm just saying is, cards come out, you have to make decisions. That involves skill. There is nothing in Sage Labs yet that involves any skill. So, is it a game? No. Is that a problem? Of course not. But, again, I'm on this thing of what's a game, and I realize it's about skill. There is no skill involved. Now, going maybe forward, the racing component of the UE5 one. Oh yeah, there's skill involved. Just is. Because you got to keep practicing until you get a better racer. Okay, cool. Is that a game? Yeah, it's a game I like. No. So, who knows? But anyways, I'll leave it at that. So just to wrap up then, again, thanks for listening. Again, if you'd like to be a guest on this podcast, again, I'm always looking for community members who want to chat and hang out for, say, 30 minutes or so and talk about different things in the week, past week of Star Atlas. If you want to find an easy resource of all the Star Atlas creators in one place, please do sign up for my weekly news recap on intergalacticherald.com. If you'd like to support my other Star Atlas projects, please go to intergalacticgear.com and fill out my merch survey. At some point, I will get moving forward on that when I can spend more time getting all that stuff set up. And then finally, if you want to hang out with other solo Star Atlas gamers who are not interested in joining guilds, again, creating a non-guild guild called the Intergalactic Coalition, intergalacticcoalition.com. Please go there, fill out the interest survey. Once I get enough interest, I can reach out to those people and we could start actually building the community. So again, I'm Matt with Intergalactic Herald. Thanks for listening to me babble and talk about Star Atlas. Be here again next week. Have a great rest of your day and a great week ahead.